from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. It's pretty wild. Welcome, everybody, to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. We are the embattled broadcast from behind enemy lines in the once great state of New York. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight we have a special guest by the name of Geraldine Orozco. Geraldine is absolutely incredible. She is a hybrid mother, ET contact. She's done a lot of things with I'll let her get into a lot of that. We're going to do a lot of that, talking about what she's been up to. She was on the show about a year ago, and we have her back. And I just want to say before we bring her up that she is one of the reasons why I am a thorough researcher. When we did our first year anniversary, Geraldine brought a presentation that knocked my socks off, that I was talking about for about 3 weeks after the fact, trying to break apart each portion of it and really understand it. It was truly incredible. Geraldine also has a YouTube show. She's been doing a lot of great work, which you can find in the description. And without further ado, let's bring in Geraldine. Geraldine, how are you? You're muted, Geraldine.
I'm sorry. Thank you
That's
so
okay.
much for that kind introduction. It was such a warm and welcome. Thank you very much, Rob.
Of course, I have to say that you are one of the people that I looked up to with the research, and the way that you approached research. You are one of your influence on me has just been so bar none. You people like you, Paul Wallace, you guys have like really molded me into what I am today, and the stuff that we bring to the table, and the way that you saw so many different avenues, but were able to correlate them was just so phenomenal. So I credit you as one of my top 5 researchers of all time, and I say that,
Wow.
with such a pleasure to be able to tell you that. It's just incredible what you do out there.
Wow, that's really a major compliment. Thank you very much, Rob. It's an honor.
So, Geraldine, it's been about a year, right? And I want you to. So a lot of people that are subscribed to my channel now weren't subscribed the last time you were on. So, I want you to give a detailed run of your history and what types of subjects you truly delve into. Also, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing recently.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, a quick overview of who I am. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and I specialize in something called epigenetic psychotherapy. My primary area of research and work is holographic DNA, taking a look at how information is stored into the holographic system of the body, both biological and through the morphogenetic field. And I work on both the emotional, somatic, psychological part of it, and as well as the interdimensional part of it. So I got into this work. I'm the owner of Bay Area Meditation here in San Francisco Bay Area, and we teach corporate meditation. But it wasn't until 2013 that I had a life-changing contact experience that completely changed not only my abilities, because I activated, after that experience, were activated psychic abilities, an intuition almost medical that allows you to look at the organs in the body, life force, how it flows through the body. And diving deep into that study of our organism and the complexity of how we function helped me understand complex concepts of consciousness, how consciousness emerges, and the connection between DNA, the code, the blueprint of what we are, and how it interconnects us to this universe, as well as the role that we play as a soul, as a life force. So that was kind of like my entryway. And of course, leading into that was research around hybridization program. I discovered during that experience that I was a hybrid mother, and I didn't understand what that meant. And it took years to actually be able to vocalize and to even understand the language enough to research it. But in 2017, when I went deep into this, I had hypnotherapy and also went deeper into my meditative work and my own personal through the ethers, I began to really link the dots into these different areas and what it all means. So this is essentially what I do, and I host a lot of free challenges on my YouTube channel. My purpose is to help educate humanity in the best ways possible to connect with their body, to learn how to use your intuition, to activate your higher faculties so that you can be your source of information, wisdom in the collective, just like I did organically. Yeah, so that's who I am.
That it's incredible. And just to jump into the DNA question really quickly, and something that I always ponder is when we're looking at that blueprint of the DNA, and we talk about, let's say, past lives or histories plus our abilities. When we're looking at that and we sit there and think, are we truly accessing it or are we activating it when we start to awaken some of those abilities? And now I've heard it kind of, go both ways. What's your take on the activation process and or becoming like creating an awareness within that DNA because it's already there? Do you
Yeah.
get what I'm trying to say?
Mhm. Yeah, well, our multidimensional bodies are complex, and I think that you see, the interesting thing about where we're at right now is that if you look at technology, for example, if you look at Google and if you look at social media, these systems of intelligence have learned us from the inside out in such a way that they have learned our the times of day that we want to eat, or the times of day that we feel lonely, disconnected, our emotional patterns, everything from the way that we're breathing to the way that we are looking for information online. So if you think of it that way, this artificial intelligence was molded by the information that we input into that system, and therefore outputs customized experiences for us in the internet or when we're connected to social media. So if you think of it that way, we kind of function in that same way in this multiverse, in this system that we're working in. But we, unfortunately, because our experience is very external, it's been trained to be external, and also by the nature of this reality, we tend to look externally for an understanding of ourselves. But when we go inside, actually, that's where we can find and uncover the database of this information through our emotional patterns, by getting to know, by observing ourselves and the way that we interact. That level of getting to know yourself is beginning to read your genetic code, because you begin to understand how you reached the perceptions and programs that you're constantly running in your everyday life. So from the inside out, those programs piece together and create what we know as our personality. But beyond that, if you deconstruct that personality, usually the personality is a product in order for us to navigate, and usually to navigate survival. It's a survival mechanism, our personality. We have learned all of these behaviors from being raised with our parents, learned how to react, how to feel fear, how to express fear. All of those things are learned. So when we go beyond that, when we go into the depths of that and really deprogram the layers of programming into the core of who you really are, that's where you access the true self. And it's in this core that you can actually understand the core database of information. Um, and what that allows you to do, the internalization, the refocusing, is that you begin to activate higher faculties. So the activation of the higher faculties is a result, it's a side effect of deprogramming certain epigenetic traits of behavior. And I call it the 0 point. We essentially want to deprogram to the point of a 0 point, which is where we then begin to access higher faculties, higher abilities. Humans can have intuition. We have the ability to communicate telepathically. We have the ability to remote view. And in that way, we connect to a network, the morphogenetic field, which is an intelligence that interconnects all organisms together. So there's two things happening here. There is a deprogramming element, there is an activation element, but essentially, what does it mean to become whole? It's every single point in our field that we wake up consciousness, every cell of our organism, 360 degrees that we bring consciousness into. We begin to, it's like a light, a dim light that is kind of like broken like this. As it begins to awaken, it begins to bring consciousness to all parts of itself, and therefore it begins to grow in different dimensional layers, because those higher faculties are existing and interconnect us to higher dimensional layers of our body, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10, up to whatever number. So when those become active, when you change your frequency in a way that you become in resonance with those dimensional layers, you're essentially activating that extension of your blueprint, this morphogenetic field. So there are two things that are happening there simultaneously. It is an activation, but essentially you're just becoming aware of something that already exists within your body.
That I You said that so elegantly, and you explained it down to the T. This is the stuff that I've been trying to say for I want to probably the last 3 weeks when we do this. Thank you, Omar, for the super sticker. It's incredible because when you become the observer, you start to understand how those programs, the exterior stimuli affects your interior, and
Mm-hmm.
when we get to understand that, it truly becomes this alternate program that we create and how we interact with that stimuli. And that is such a huge revelation for so many people.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing now with a lot of these solar flashes and heightens in the Schumann frequency, I think that to me, it means that there's more people connecting to that network that you're talking about. It's almost as if like fungus has the mycelium network
Mm-hmm.
where they communicate with each other, and we have the same thing because that's the microcosm and we're the macro in that essence. And then from us, when we become the microcosm, the universe has that macro. So that's truly incredible. Now, with your contact and the hybridization program, how does that factor into, let's say, your understanding of what was happening inside of yourself? How does that play that part in kind of thrusting you into this, basically getting you to this point where you needed to understand a lot of that kind of that back and forth and how the reactionary things happen between your auric field and the matrix that we live in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, in 2013, I had been meditating for several hours a day, sometimes up to 9 hours a day. And what that allowed me to do was to really enter into the core programs, deprogramming my own matrix programming, belief systems, identities, programs that I adopted since childhood, traumas. And I discovered that when I was able to look at my life, I began to look at past lives, and I revisited all of my past lives. And I began to understand the cyclical patterns that were repeating. And I began to notice some interesting connections in that work, that we not only are we interconnected, but our DNA is essentially what inherits within us these blueprints of programs, emotional programs, traumatic programs. And because we are multidimensional, an entire multidimensional layer of ourselves, which we are interacting mostly in dream time. When we are in dream state, we have all kinds of activity that is also recorded in our DNA. This is being passed down primarily through the mitochondria, but also the genetic code that is passed down through the generations is something that when you look historically, you begin to discover that lineages, bloodlines have been very specifically somehow cultivated from the origin from Mesopotamia until now. Now, how do we know this? How did we arrive at that conclusion? Um, when I met my hybrid children, it completely ripped a level of paradigm that I wasn't prepared, because ETs, in the way that we I saw them, the gigantic 7 foot gray beings with these huge eyes, I was not prepared for that in any way, because I wasn't interested in sci-fi. I wasn't interested in the concept of grays. It was the first time that I had actually vocalized or had an idea about the grays and aliens as a concept. So for me, it was incredibly shocking. And being introduced to children as a result of this experience, children that were a combination of humanoid. I could see myself in the child, but the child was not 100% humanoid. It was a combination of different kinds of species. And it was incredibly shocking. I didn't know how to place that in my current life, with work, with my family, relationships, all these. It just wasn't meshing. And I had to understand what reality was at that point. That was my number one question. What is real? What does it mean to have hybrid children? What is free will? Where does that play? Did I participate in creating this? How so? And when I spoke about this with my family, I discovered that I had other family members that had also had contact. So that was another layer of this that really made me think that what we inherit is more than just the emotional aspect that we're actually just now learning about through epigenetics. But it's something that is encoded within us. So it took me into a deep dive into first questioning, what is the soul? Well, first of all, what is it that makes humans valuable to be participant of something called a hybridization program, where our genetic data is being mixed with something else? How does our bodies even sustain these kinds of foreign entities and organisms in the body? And I began to become aware that my cycles during my life, my biological cycles, were where I became pregnant without being partnered. In very key moments throughout my life were in combination with intense dreams and experiences. So I began to research this and discover that many women and men around the world had been experiencing the same thing. So the question was, are we experiencing some kind of psychosis? Or are we, is there something that is truly occurring here with an interest in our DNA database? So as I dove into that information, I was taken all the way back to Mesopotamia. I began to look at how not only is DNA the blueprint code of all potential life, we share the same base code from which we can modify. And I mean, we're only 80 codons away from, a chimpanzee or a banana. We there's certain codes to what we are, to the form that takes shape in these biological organisms. So that being said, we're not that far away from any organism there, on this planet. So when you begin to research that, what I discovered was that there's an entire overlay in the non-physical realm that interconnects us, which is the morphogenetic field. And the human soul is the life force that brings to life this DNA. When the soul incarnates into the physical body, it's attaching to two lineages. It's attaching to our ancestral lineages, which is everything encoded within the reincarnation cycle of the matrix, specific to this dimensional experience. Keep that in mind, because in this dimensional experience, it's about duality. So when we enter into the physical, we're here to experience through the physical body this duality. And the participation of our activity in the non-physical plane when we're sleeping in dream time, the dreams that we have, the astral projections when we're navigating out of body, this is really where the human is really, really active. We are exploring our simultaneous fractals of ourselves, which we exist in, because what we think of as past lives is actually something that is occurring simultaneously at this moment. So this is where I began to link that experiences that I had lived through in what I thought was past lives were things that I had access to through this physical body right now. And at any point in time that I would tune in to those moments, I would be able to access different ranges of information that were relevant to my experience. So this meant that our DNA is being edited in vivo. And this is important for the hybridization program because the life force, the life that we bring into this world, the agreements that we make to exist in the matrix, really depend on our level of awareness and consciousness. And we have seen this through many luminaries in our history that have dove deep into the subconscious mind. and to research the experience of being human. Our human experience is something that is very cyclical, just like the patterns of nature that you were explaining a moment ago. And our purpose here is not just procreation. We think that we're here to just bring children into the world, at such an unconscious level. You know, a lot of times we bring children in for very egoic reasons without really understanding the consequences of that. But the children that are born are essentially a continuation of ourselves genetically, and they hold within them, in their vibrational frequency, encoded exactly everything that is necessary to help this lineage, the bloodline, the ancestral lineage, either move forward or continue in the reincarnation cycle. So hybrids are essentially that same kind of program, but in the interdimensional level of ourselves. And we participate in that consciously and unconsciously, just the way we create life on this planet and inherit all of our trauma into the child when we don't do the shadow work. We also participate in counter creation in these higher dimensional planes. And that's really what the hybridization program is about. Our soul is essentially been utilized as a currency through parasitic systems that reside within us, and we participate as the nature of our reality in a dualistic existence, essentially.
That's incredible. And the one thing that I picked out that you said there is it sounds almost to me as if the consciousness created the physical body, not the other way around. That's practiced, in some of the major religions. They say you're born and the consciousness is created or the soul is created because of the physical, but it's actually the consciousness creating the physical, which seeing things through that perception can change the whole dynamic of our existence here on this planet. Now, in one of the things you also do is you help people who have experienced a lot of similar things to yourself, and you're also we're talking about the epigenetics, you also help people with that too. So tell us a little bit about the programs that you're running to help people right now in these times of need, especially with this great awakening happening. And then the second backup question to that is, with this cyclistic nature, how does the great awakening sort of play into that equation?
Yeah. Well, we're actually moving through a very unique moment in history right now, because we are reaching the photonic belt. And not only that, but there's many ways to look at this universe, but energetically and vibrationally, we are entering a high octave of vibrational frequency. And what that does to all the humans on this planet, nothing is by chance. As you mentioned, it's from the consciousness that emerges form through this intelligent, self-organizing morphogenetic field is where form comes to play. And form is produced with a purpose, very specific purpose. So all humans here on this planet have incarnated through this intelligence at this time to experience this great awakening. We've been experiencing historically cycles, same cycles, just like this. We reach the highest points of technology, both organic and artificial, to whatever level that is in historic timeline. And then we seem to go down back again in this cycle. So we see that clearly in our history, in the history of this world, of this planet. But it's the same thing in our spiritual journey, you could say. The incarnation into the physical planet is a series of cycles, both micro and macro, both that are merging from the conscious and the subconscious. We are constantly merging and cycling through those phases. So right now, we are accessing the highest point of the subconscious, and that allows us to dig deep into the deep programs, roots, subconscious programs that are fed by the collective subconscious and also the unconscious, okay, which interconnects all living organisms. So that's what this merging into the photonic belt, or this super high vibrational collective frequency, allows us to access those deeper aspects. And what that does is that it allows humans to the lowest point that we can reach is exactly as above, so below, the highest point that we also have the ability to reach. So we have an opportunity to do the shadow work, to reach these higher points as a collective. And I guess the invitation now, especially with technology, really coming so close to the organic, because technology is always mirrored after the organic. Right now, we are seeing technology, artificial intelligence, coming close to that potential, becoming conscious or beginning to question what is consciousness. So my primary work is looking at programs, programs that are artificially embedded within our reality, and these are programs that our society, they're socially engineered into cultures through religion. They are engineered into our reality through everything that we believe is real in this external physical. And when you begin to wake up consciousness, you begin to realize that they're not real. And many of your own belief systems are actually a product of those false systems. So my primary work is to help people recognize those false programs, uproot them, get to the root, and we work interdimensionally in this timeline and all simultaneous timelines that are connected to that emotional program. That's essentially what the epigenetic psychotherapy does. And of course, as a therapist, we work with a lot of traumas, and really, it can be incredibly healing. People have healed from illnesses. People no longer have pain in their body. People change their lives from one day to the next. They change careers, relationships, because when you stop working in this unconscious, almost artificial state of being, you can really elevate into a co-creation, which is actually what we're here to do. But we can only access that when we are aware of what we are and what we're capable of. So this is primarily what I do in my work, and also as a hypnotherapist working with deep trauma. And trauma doesn't have to be some severe event that happened. It can be as simple as a mother in one moment in your experience not looking at you and providing you the love that you needed in that moment. All of these things are very profound programs that make up who we are today. So I work a lot with those.
Perception. A lot of those are perceptional based, right? And
Yeah.
this is something I would ask you as a, from a professional standpoint, because I know you probably would know this a lot better than myself, but a lot of people who seem to have heightened anxiety, right? And this causes other traumas and kind of not doesn't hold back their awakening, but how difficult is it for them to sort of release those traumas and move past that state of heightened anxiety or fear?
Yeah, so anxiety is a result of repeated survival events, events that have caused us to come into a state of survival, and essentially we connect and we question our survival when we enter an experience that is unknown to us. So essentially, the root of all anxiety, the root of all fear, the root of insecurities, doubts, all of these things, these expressions, these different expressions of fear, um, the best way to address it is by getting to the root, which is essentially becoming friends with the unknown. That's what I call that, because we are so used to looking for our comfort zone and what is safe and what is familiar, but this life is designed to keep us constantly moving in these cycles of change, life and death, these cyclical patterns, and it's not something that we're taught at an early age. So we always seek comfort, we seek, safety, and that's an illusion that causes a lot of people disassociation with themselves and what they experience. So it's essentially learning how to be okay with the unknown, regulating the nervous system, working with the traumas that we have experienced. They can be very severe traumas, but addressing the parts of us that were in those moments where we didn't know how to move forward or navigate that experience. And looking back, providing support for those parts. What is it that you need? It's almost as if you become an explorer. Explore yourself. What do you need from yourself in order to not feel um, threatened or vulnerable in a moment which is unknown to you. That's the key. And if you go through that process, it can be incredibly empowering and liberating because the human begins to deprogram these programs that hinder their expression. Because anxiety really can limit your entire life into a life of suppression, into a life of disconnect, loneliness, separation. And that's an illusion. That's a temporary illusion that isn't really real. So when you break through that, the human can really begin to go into their true creative ability, which is what we're here to do. And this is the co-creation that humans are able to do outside of this matrix hypnotic state of being in a dormant unconscious state.
I couldn't agree more. And you know, the reason why I asked that too is because we're coming into these times where there is a tremendous amount of unknown, right?
Yeah,
As somebody like ourselves who sort of focus on the unknowns and work our way through them and kind of trying to find that inner standing as opposed to the understanding, and we're on that path and journey. A lot of people who are waking up in this time are really starting to see these differences within society and really starting to really focus on those programs, because those programs are no longer, they're no longer delusions. They're sort of in your face, kind of butting up against your everyday life. And I asked it because a lot of those people are expressing anxieties and moving past that point, like when we start to awaken to those higher consciousness states, and people have to go talk to their family members, and their family members essentially are like, what's going on with you? Like, you're crazy. Like, we all get that, right? Like, we all had that moment. And they start to feel more self-isolated than ever. And there's communities out there that'll build you up. So it's, I thought that that would be a great question to kind of help some of those people, and just kind of furthering the work that you already do so amazingly, and trying and spread it onto this channel a little bit, because I'll tell you, what you do for people is so admirable and so incredible. I can only aspire to do a tenth of what you do on a daily basis, and I just have to say thank you from the community, because you really do help others, even with the hybridization and the hybrid mothers programs. You talk to contactees, and you really get a feel for some of these traumas that they've been through, and work through some of this stuff. And these are traumas that they can't really tell anybody else, and
right.
or they choose not to. And there's this confidentiality with it because of the stigmas of being judged, and you kind of untangle all that and rebuild these people, so to say. So it's just so incredible that
Yeah.
that work that you do.
Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you very much. Yeah, I to me it's an honor to be of service. And what I do is something that many people can do. When we activate our intuition, we hold space for one another. And to me, it brings me so much joy to see people being interested in doing this work. That's the beautiful thing about it. Rob, what I'm seeing is like over the past 10, 12 years, the amount of people that are asking the questions, hundreds of people that are contactees that email me, message me on social media. I'm a hybrid parent. I had this experience. We need the information. That's why platforms like yours are so incredibly helpful. And the amount of information and the depth that you go into things is very unique and super, super special. So thank you for what you do as well, Rob.
Thank you, thank you. So over the last year or 2 years, you've had a chance to work with some heavy hitters, and you were on with you were out there with Demi Lovato trying to figure out what was going on. Tell us a little bit about that experience and how that was.
Yeah, Demi Lovato is super beautiful being. She is a true experiencer. It is amazing. And what was shown in the show, unfortunately, I mean, we had like a 2-hour conversation about the different kinds of experiences that she had, and the things that she was experiencing and questions, and it was just so profound to hear that, I mean, she had these dreams that she would wake up at night and she would have these intense experiences, and she presence that she felt in the room, intense dreams about being on other planets. And there was a one experience that she mentioned, that she was on a planet that was purple. The Earth was purple, and the skies look like a sunset, like peach and purple golden sky. And the funny thing is that she remembers that she had a connection to the Pleiades. And this was like the planet that she was taken to. She keeps dreaming of going to this place. Now, when I had my experience, that was one of the most powerful experiences that I had, being taken to the Pleiades, to the planet Maya. And I had been there many times after this 2013 experience, but it's it's undeniable. It's a purple earth, and the sun, it looks like a sunset sky at all times. So I believe that we visited a similar planet, a similar vision. And the incredible thing is I have in my experiencer group, my international experiencer group, people that have been to planet Maya or to other planets in the Pleiades also describe it in the same way. So when I heard her say this, and she's never heard this from anywhere else, it was just mind blowing. The dreams about children that she's had, the experiences that she's had personally with her own cycles. It's just phenomenal. And you because this information isn't as openly available, when people tell the stories the way that they do, in the detail that they do, you can tell the organic essence and very key details to those experiences that you can't make up, and you can't really just imagine, because they're very specific, to this kind of experience. So she has had a lot of experiences. I know that she's a high priestess in these dimensional levels. She's a hybrid mother for sure. And, she felt a strong yearning to want to talk about these in public, because she also has contactees that message her and talk to her about their experiences. So it was an honor to work and speak with her. And yeah, it's amazing. More people in the mainstream seem to be talking about it now.
Absolutely. And one
Yeah.
of the things I wanted to bring out about that too is your ability to essentially reach more people by being on that sort of platform too. So it's not only, the information that's coming out, but your reach as from that experience and understanding how that level of production kind of works too, so we can get to higher, I guess, echelons of contacting more souls across the entire globe, and really that's what it comes down to. For me, everything boils back to how can we make this a little bit different to reach more people.
Hmm.
I always talk about the threshold, and the threshold of where people really need to be, I guess, engaged to make them say, you know what, something's not right. We have to research that. We have to dive in and really jump in wholeheartedly. And I think that you've done a lot to pique people's interests. And I want to go back to that presentation you did at our 1 year anniversary for this show, and it was just something that, like, I couldn't stop looking at it. You were reflecting on the colors and how colors affect the soul, and it was just something that was like that's ingrained in my brain because it's so thorough, and that takes a lot of time, and a lot of people don't realize how much time it takes, but you have like hundreds of these presentations. You've got so many of these presentations that are just so
Yeah.
thorough. I don't like it. It boggles my mind how you have I get so into something and then I'm on to the next thing like ADHD. I'm out like halfway through it. I'm like, all right, what's the next? And but you go down to such precise levels, and I think that stands to a testament to who you are and how you're functioning within this dimensional reality or this dimensional matrix right now, and you're going down to the depths to rescue the people who were left behind by the, I guess, the old matrix, the old cycle, and kind of lifting them to where we need to be now. So what do you see for your future? I mean, what do you see coming up in the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years?
Well, right now I'm trying to finish writing my book that I've been working on for 5 years. It's a huge project, and it's several books. It's a series of books. One of them is about healing, and this is the most important. This is like my baby, because you know um, we are inherently designed to be able to heal our bodies, and the information is there. It's all inside of the body. When we learn how this body functions, we can easily change our lives. So this is my main message, and I want to share that message in every way possible. So the book is one of the programs I'm doing, projects, and a child's book. I'm really, really huge on trying to help our next generations as early as possible begin to understand the nature of our reality. I mean, because if you and I, if we had this information when we were super young, I mean,
Oh man.
the things that we could have accomplished by now, but everything is in due time. It's all vibrational frequency, so it's time to create content for children that they can access, books, programs, interactive things, games, even, things that they can really access. So that's another huge love of mine that I'm working with. I mean, this year I have a lot of conferences that I'm going to be presenting at. I'm going to be in the UK for a conference. I mean, I can just tell you really quickly, August
Yeah,
11th to the
tell us
3rd.
about it.
Thank you. August 11th to the 13th, I'll be in Glastonbury, which is amazing. We're going to be connecting with the heart meridian line of the earth, the heart chakra of the earth. And that is going to be a phenomenal conference. I'm also going to be at Journey to Truth conference in Illinois. That's May 22nd. Ascension conference coming up here in April 21st. You have to check that out. JJ Hurtak, Carolyn Corey, Linda Howe, Alan Steinfeld. So many amazing luminaries are going to be there. And in Los Angeles, March 24th, I'll be at the Biomed Expo. So if you guys are around, definitely. And another amazing thing is that I'll be in Egypt later this year in September for an amazing retreat that we're going to be taking a look at the pyramids and all the main areas of energy there, doing some good work. So do connect with me if you'd like to join in any of these places.
I have your link tree down in the description, as well as
Oh,
your
cool.
YouTube channel and
Thank
all of your websites. So everything is in the description of this video to contact Geraldine. And I think that energetics and looking at the grids themselves is so huge. We just did
you. Mhm.
two or three episodes describing the
Oh, wow.
different grid systems, as well as the, I guess, the how they interact with humans and on a
Wow.
global scale almost. And one of the things that I've been working on too is an energetics workshop. We're going to be doing
Mm.
different styles of healing and using energies between sound energy, so many different ones. We've got the
So amazing. Yeah.
so many different things coming up. I've
Mhm.
made PDFs. We've got charts. We've got understanding. So, I would love for you to be a part of that too. It's just I know you got
Oh
a
my
real
God,
busy
that
schedule,
sounds
but
amazing. Yeah.
it's so good. I've been working on it for probably about 3 weeks, and it's really coming along, and I'm looking to drop it maybe mid-February. Was saying the end of January, but you know how things always kinda get pushed back a little bit, but
That sounds really exciting. And people need this and they look for it. They really, really are looking for this information. So thank you for doing that. How
well,
exciting.
absolutely, and it's something that helped me, and I think that,
Mhm. Right.
relaying those experiences, a lot of things have happened for me this year too that were unexpected. Like I had contact outside of my house with my wife, and
Wow.
it was really wild. We didn't talk to anybody just yet, but we saw it blow up like a big light. It
Wow.
came down and it exploded like a light, then went back to normal, and 10 seconds later it was gone in a flash. And
Interesting.
I've had the opportunity to meditate on it and know that now I'm from the Alpha Centauri star system in the sense of being a star seed, and I
Wow.
have past lives or, I guess altars that would be there as well. So it's been a lot. It's been a wild ride, and it's real. I feel like as a community, we're really coming into our own and really starting to function as a community and being those structural supports for everybody else that's kind of opening up new pathways for people to explore. And, something that I think that is truly also, without a doubt, incredible is recanting these experience stories like yours, because other people who are hiding in those shadows are proverbially looking for that lifeline, and they don't know where to look. It's like
Mhm.
it's an
Yep.
invisible lifeline,
Yeah.
and I think the more we tell these stories and the more times we kind of go into what the possibility or the limitless potential of the human consciousness is, when we start to soar, and I love that you guys are going to Egypt. I think that that's such an amazing trip. I would have loved to have gone there, but with work schedules now, it's very difficult. But I
Yeah.
wish you guys the best, and I hope you guys have an amazing time there.
Oh, thank you, Rob. I hope you guys can come. Maybe one of those trips, one of those days. It would be great to do that. And maybe you would be doing your own excursion one day, working with ley lines.
It's a possibility. I've been doing recently is I've been looking at the US map and having people email me to drop where their ley line is close to them and how they can
Mm,
sort of interact with it. And I think that that's sort of like a local level, right? Like,
yeah,
and accessing these grids is it's opening yourself to
yes.
information as well. And that's something that we have to
It's
under
it's
go
through
ahead.
the morphogenetic field. Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I think what the work you're doing is so important too, because we start to understand who we are. And
Mhm.
you know, who let me ask you this question. It's going to be kind of wild, but who is Geraldine? Tell us who Geraldine is. We know your accomplishments, but tell us who you are on a day-to-day level personally.
This is it, to be honest with you. It's very straightforward. This is my life. I mean, I have a very strong meditation practice daily. I meditate about 2 hours a day. I love to do yoga. I do a lot of qigong and energy work with my body, and that, to me, that's my education. That's where I learn every day, and I prepare myself. I download a lot of information through that. My the way that I connect with information is by looking at the field. I travel into the dimensions and I observe and I learn from there. That's my university, and I believe that we can all access this infinite source of information, by cultivating this connection to the self. So aside from that, I work with clients Monday through Friday in my practice, pretty much all day long. And in the evening times, I will do projects like this, working on my book. I'm also an artist, so I love to paint. So that's what I do in my free time, and otherwise, spending time in nature. That's my temple. That's where I recharge, and I also learn there in nature. Nature is actually one of the most powerful teachers that we have. So that's me, and to me, everything I do is fun. This to me is so much fun. It's so exciting, and it's in alignment with being of service, essentially. So whatever I can do to be of service, that's where I have the most fun.
I love that too. It really is fun. I mean, people come here and they we get nervous a little bit sometimes going on, but it's always a good time, right? And I just commend you. I think your art is also great, and I'm sure that your contact experience has done a lot to influence some of your art and some of those things,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
a
your
lot.
expansion of your consciousness. And you know, we had somebody. I had a question here from somebody who donated. It says, what's a hybrid mother?" Not sure what that means. We went over it, but I'll let you go over it again for her.
Yeah. Well, a hybrid mother essentially is it's not just a mother, it's a parent is actually the right way to say it, because it's both men and women, fathers and mothers, that are participating in creating life forms, seeding life through energy, our life force. And our egg and the semen of male are both potent encodings of our genetic data. It's a library of data, DNA, that is encoded in there, as well as a vibrational frequency ranges of information. So each, both man and woman, contain these important libraries of information which function like vortices that interconnect us like portals into the different genetic lineages that make up what we are. So the hybridization program is utilizing those libraries of information in order to seed more life or anchor souls into different dimensional levels. So Earth, the Earth plane, we have hybrids. We have hybrids that we give birth to here. What does it mean to be a hybrid? A hybrid is a combination of genetic information. So what would be called as a chimera before is the combination of different species to create a new life form. So that's what the hybrids are, and they are highly, highly advanced. Children that remember their past lives. They're incredibly intuitive. Many of you have these children, and we are seeding more. The level of consciousness that a human co-creates and um, seeds life in the insemination process creates higher vibrational humans. human beings. But we're also doing that same thing interdimensionally. And our level of awareness contributes to either creating life that is co-creative, so other beings that are going to bring humanity forward, or that create organisms that are counter-creative and meant to provide like parasitic exchanges with entities and beings. So this is like in a nutshell what the hybridization program is.
That struck something in my mind really quickly. Is that I think that human beings, as a whole, right, are seeded from different genetical sources, as in different extraterrestrial races, sort of, or interdimensional races, seeded life here. And if two of these lines, let's say, create a child, that would be a hybrid child as well, right? So we would all be hybrids in some sense of the word, where genetics have crossed over from one species to the other, just from different planets or so, or different realms of reality. Which that was just like a boom moment to me, really quickly. I was
Yeah,
like, "Holy cow! We're all hybrids. Like
we
everybody's
are
a
all
hybrid."
hybrids, correct. And I also believe that we are all hybrid parents, because we are creating in dimensional layers, so we're not even aware. Until you wake up, then you begin to realize you're at what you're participating in. So, and remember, creation is not just about sex. It's about the merging and the intention of creation. We're creating with the words that we're speaking, with our intentions, with our actions. We create timelines that shift humanity. And in that same way, every human is a connection of information that can propel humanity forward, or, counter creative. So, yeah, and if we look historically, the hybridization program, there's many accounts of that. The divine conception of the feminine, becoming pregnant, giving birth without sexual intercourse, is very relevant to understanding the divine union within the human in order to create. It's a representation of what we're capable of doing through that alchemical marriage of the feminine and masculine internally. So both men and women have that potential of creating in levels that transcend the physical. And we have that historically. If you look at different countries since Mesopotamia until now, and especially if you look at our DNA history and the cycle of evolution, how we have evolved, you and I, just 3,000 years ago, have a relative in common. We all come from the same origin pool of information. So that means that we are all part of this hybridization program in a very profound way. And yeah, I hope to explain more of that in my book. This is the purpose of the book, actually, is to talk about this because it's very complex and there's lots of layers to it.
It sounds incredible, but I knew you were a soul sister from the first time I met you. I know
Yeah,
that, so it works out, right? It
agreed.
This has been incredible. I mean, the information that you've given us today is just it compounds a lot of what we've been doing, and it moves, it sort of moves the ball forward and kind of giving us another area to go through. So, I thank you so much. This has been so incredible. And
It's my
if you
pleasure.
guys haven't, please subscribe to Geraldine's YouTube channel. You've been doing a sort of a program of
Yeah.
self love. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I do several every year. I do one or two 30-day challenges, and we go really deep into them. So this time we did an alchemical transformation challenge where we look at really deep practices of alchemy, both inner alchemy and external alchemy, and work with that. So that's what this 30-day challenge was about, and it's live. You can see it on my YouTube channel. I have many other ones that are focused on self-love, emotional mastery, really tried to go deep into all of the facets of our humanity in order to understand how to really get to the root, navigate, and make changes in our life that are going to, create a ripple effect, essentially. So, yeah, it's free, and you can just grab it on my YouTube at Geraldine Orozco.
Which is in the description below. So
Yeah.
again, the work you do is incredible. And Geraldine, I'm not going to hold you much
Thank you so
longer, but
much.
what I like to do is I like to give every guest like a moment or two at the end of each episode to essentially tell the world what you believe they need to hear. So I'm going to put you on full screen and I'm going to give you that moment,
Yeah.
and I want you to tell the world what they need to hear.
Thank you so much. Well, in this incredible time of discernment, one of the things that we want to focus on is to begin to discern the organic from the inorganic. what is false, what is real. How do we discern that, and how do we participate in the creation of what is organic? So one of the things that most powerful is to learn how to become close to nature, to align with the laws of nature, and to connect all of the parts of ourselves, the shadow aspects of ourselves that have been hidden and suppressed in the subconscious aspects of ourselves. That is the key to our liberation, because anything that is in the shadow is essentially what we are basically slaves to that. Our entire life is revolved around sustaining and protecting parts of ourselves that we're afraid to address. So my invitation to you is to get into those shadows, to understand and never be afraid of the dark, never be afraid of what is hidden, because that is going to be what guides you into the ultimate truth. Working with that discernment in connecting with nature will allow you see what is true beyond this illusions, distractions of any kind in this universe. So that is my biggest invitation, and I hope to be of service to you if you need assistance in activating these higher faculties to be able to do that. And thank you so much for having me here today, Rob. It's been an
E
honor.
excellent. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you. This was an amazing conversation. My mind is I'm still, like, going over parts that you talked about before in my brain and just kind of rethinking it like, "Oh, wow, this conversation has definitely impacted my perspective on a few things." So, it's a privilege to have you here, and hopefully I look forward to working with you more in the future, and this has just been incredible.
Thank you so much. Much love, and thank you so much to everybody that's here today. Thank you.
Much love, Geraldine. Thank you so much. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this evening. With that being said, my name is Rob Yox. That's Geraldine, and we're signing off. See you later.